Namaskar. Welcome back to the Bhagavad Gita online classes. Missed a session? Don't worry. You can click in the link in the description box to catch up on all the Bhagavad Gita classes. This Diwali, celebrate in a new light, the light of knowledge. Gift your loved ones the Bhagavad Gita commentary, the Diwali gift hampers, and more by Jaya Rao and get 50% off. Let's take the Bhagavad Gita to the homes and hearts of every Indian. Visit vedantavision.org to order today and make the most of this Diwali offer. Next week, we have a special surprise. Mark your calendar Saturday 26th October for a special talk on the significance of Diwali. Stay updated on the Diwali talk, the online classes, and more. Join Jayaji's WhatsApp community at vedantavision.org/WhatsApp or click the link in the description. I now request Jayaji to continue chapter 1.
ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Any questions?
Dealing with other people, then in present moment when we are discussing or talking something, we have that some experiences of past coming in the way, particularly bad experiences. So at that time I feel that I am not in the present moment and I am in the past. So how to complete that or overcome it?
Yeah, the question is that when we are dealing with people, a lot of the time the past experiences, particularly if they're negative with that person, they come and ruin your present interaction. So she's saying a large part of the time I am living in the past, means the past is coming in and disturbing me. I'm not looking at it afresh. So you have to train your intellect to remain in the present and say that never mind what has happened in the past, I will take that into consideration in deciding how to deal with the person. You must take that. And you will also take into consideration what future outcome you want out of that discussion or interaction. But while you're talking or while you're discussing, don't allow your mind to get polluted by the past, and don't allow it to be anxious for the future. Just remain in the present. This is possible only when you develop the intellect. So it's like, Bernard Shaw was asked, who is the most intelligent person you know? He said, my tailor. So they asked him why. He said, because every time I go to him, he takes fresh measurements. And that is the trick we need to learn, that every time you interact with a person, take fresh measurements. Don't get biased by the past. Past is over and done with. Don't don't allow your mind to go into the future. Just remain in the present and enjoy that interaction. And then what happens is, every word, every nuance, every expression of the person, you're able to pick up and understand how best to speak to that person. So then you become more effective, you enjoy that interaction, and whatever happens, happens. So even if it is a negative interaction, let's say the person is still negative towards you. It's okay, you have the satisfaction that you've done your bit. There was a case recently where there was some issue between the father and son in business. And the the father was going to take a step that was going to harm the business. So, a lot depends on your reputation in the business. So, they would have lost their reputation and they would have gone downhill. So, the son asked, what should I do? Number one, don't get angry. Number two, leave the past alone. Whatever the father has done, leave it. You just gather data and present it to him in the best way possible. And say, if you do this, this will happen. If you do something else, which according to you is a better alternative, but don't tell him that this is what you want to do. Because then he'll throw it out straight. You say, these are the alternatives, now you choose. And whichever way he goes, you accept it. So, see, there are certain things beyond your control in any situation. There's no point thinking about it and worrying about it. Because it depends on how others behave, others take decisions. But there are certain things under your control. How you present this to the other person, how you interact with the other person. And if you leave aside your anger, your desire, anger means it comes from desire. If you set it aside and you do it objectively to the best of your ability, you enjoy that. You don't know what the outcome is going to be. And you're prepared for the worst. So as long as you're prepared for the worst, anything better than that is a bonus for you. And to sit there and cry and say, oh, he's done this and he's going to be responsible. No, it's not that. It's your karma that is coming back to you. Whoever it is a nimitta, is an excuse for the law to function. Okay? So you can't sit there and complain. But for him, I would have made greater profit. It doesn't work that way. You deserve it. You've got it. Now make the most of it. So even in a terrible situation, you can view it objectively and just play your part to the best of your ability. You find satisfaction in that, you find fulfillment in that, and chances are you'll be successful. But there is no guarantee. Even if you're not successful, there are instances when you may not be successful, but still you're a winner. I'll explain. In that movie, The Legend of Bhagavad Gita, there's a competition going on and there are 3 golfers who are playing. Now in golf, if there is a leaf blocking your ball, you are allowed to remove that leaf. But if the ball moves, you're supposed to call out the shot, meaning that it's one more shot. It's a disadvantage to you. So this guy, and there's a lot at stake there, apart from money, reputation, so many things. So while he's moving that leaf, the ball also moves just by a few centimeters. So he comes out and nobody's seen it. The judges are not there, the crowd is not there, nobody's there. He's alone in the bush. But he comes out and tells his caddy and this other little boy who's just his fan, who adores him, I have to call it because the ball moved. And they said, particularly the little boy says, but nobody's seen it. Don't call it. He says, but I've seen it. And if I've seen it, I have to call it. And he goes and tells the judges that take one extra shot for me. The caddy, who's the guru actually in the movie, he walks away, starts walking away. So the golfer says, "Where are you going?" He's desperate because he's dependent on the caddy, for advice. Like all of us are dependent on the guru, the teacher. He said, "You don't need me anymore." And that is the truth. So by calling out that shot, he may have lost the tournament, but he has won. You understand? So that is what makes all the difference. Your values. And see what a position he is in. Nobody has seen it. And he can easily win the competition by not calling out that shot. But will he feel good about it? It's like you cheat and win. That is the thing. So when you play your part to the best of your ability, even if you lose, you have still won. Why have you won? Because spiritually you have grown. That act has purified you internally. And it's a wonderful feeling to have. When you do what you have to do to the best of your ability, even if it is not perfect. How many people perform perfect action? It's not the action that is perfect. It is your attitude that becomes perfect. It's possible to be perfect. So, that's it. Even in cricket, there are batsmen who get out, and even if the umpire doesn't give him out, he knows he's out. He just walks. At least this used to happen in the past. Now, the moment money comes into it, it gets polluted. So that's a beautiful concept in Vedanta, where you just do your best and leave the rest. Leave the anxiety for the fruit. You really don't want the fruit because you've already got it. So what does it matter what the other person is like? What does it matter if the other person is negative? That's the situation in the Mahabharata. Because the Kauravas are terribly negative. And Arjuna is also, as you can see now in the verses that are coming, he's smarting from the evil that Duryodhana has done to them. But Krishna says, don't hate them. They are just functioning according to their nature. Just as a lion is ferocious, given half a chance, it will attack. But even that attacks only when it's hungry, not otherwise. Similarly, human beings have different natures. Who are you to sit in judgment over them and ruin your peace of mind, first of all? You can't be a victim to other people's natures. Then you're totally dependent if you get affected. So if you shift your attention from the other person to yourself and tell yourself that this is the role that I have to play, and play that role objectively, perfectly, with your heart and soul, you've got it. You've performed perfect action. You have evolved spiritually. You are successful in that sense. And you're happy. What does it matter what the other person is like? And that's how, when you start acting the way you feel is the right way to behave, you influence others. Like Prahlada, after his father was killed by Hiranyakashipu, was killed by Narasimha, he became the king of the Daityas, of the demons. And you know what? All those demons became good. They just saw the way in which he was conducting himself. It's so attractive. There's something about it that appeals to you. Even totally dumb people understand somewhere. They may not have the intellect to understand, but something in them is awakened. Like animals understand love. Like that, human beings understand much more than that. You must just have it. So don't ever worry about what the other person is thinking or doing or has done. Do your bit. That's it. Huh?
What she said. How do you deal with the past, with the element of forgiveness? If you just cannot forgive, when you know you need to, you have to for your own progress, but it doesn't come. How do you deal with that?
See, first of all, it's very egoistic to take the stand that I will forgive. Now, who am I to forgive, first of all? And forgive for what?
No, forgive if someone has done something wrong to you. So
I understand
somewhere
that.
there will be an element of wrong or right.
Who are you? Are you the conscience keeper of the whole world?
But the wrong has been done to you. Then how do you deal with it?
You protect yourself, that's it. You don't have to pass judgment on the other person. And you're incapable of protecting yourself as long as you are feeling hurt or vengeful or negative towards that person. Because your mind is agitated. So you can't assess the situation. You are in no condition to decipher what to do, what not to do. You always do the wrong things and you end up victimized by the other person again. This is the message of Krishna to Arjuna. That yes, they have done all this wrong. But you have decided on a course of action, which is to go to war with them. Now why are you sitting there and saying, Atataina, they are criminals? Never mind who they are, you have decided to go in for the battle, right? Fight to the best of your ability. You're supposed to sit there and figure out the strategy that you're going to follow, how you're going to go about the whole battle, not sit there and pass judgment. So he would have lost the battle had it not been for Krishna's intervention. Okay? So the message is, kill them if you have to, but with love. Then you think about it.
Both the question seems very similar to what I've gone through. Which most of them have been hurt by the other person, and that's what's coming in the way of making them decision. That's what I feel. You just need to get that hurt out. That's what I feel I would have done in my case.
Yes, correct. Someone else has done harm to you. So you are reacting to it. You're feeling hurt. You have to get that out of the way. Because when you feel hurt, it's like you are paying the price for their action. You get it? Why should I pay the price for somebody else's action? You go and murder someone, how can I be arrested for it? But when you suffer, you are in effect paying for someone else's action. So you have to tell yourself powerfully, I refuse to suffer for someone else's wrongdoing. Number one. That should be the starting premise. After that, you figure out how to deal with it. See, as long as your mind is calm, you will think straight, you will act correctly. The problem comes when your mind itself is agitated. Then you can't think, forget thinking straight, you can't think at all. And action comes to a grinding halt. That's the theme of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay?
Well, you have to react that way. If you don't react, you keep it in yourself, that will harm you.
You should not react at all. Because when you're reacting, see what react means what? You are reacting to the other person's action, which means you are dependent on that person, right? Instead, what you should do is take into account what the person has done, assess it with your intellect, decide how you're going to respond to it, and the intellect responds. If you react, then you're a victim of the other person. If you respond, you are in control, you're in command. Because you decide what action you're going to take. Most of the time, you see what happens is people behave at a very low level, most of the wrongdoers. And it doesn't warrant a response from you. You know, have you gone for a walk anywhere? PDP, Marine Drive, anywhere. You see people come with dogs for a walk. So there's a tiny little dog, and there is that majestic Alsatian or a golden retriever, huge dog. Invariably, you see that tiny one keeps barking at the big dog. The big dog he's like a king. He doesn't care for this little thing. So he ignores. And when it gets too much, all that the Alsatian has to do is just turn and look at that little one. It scampers, whines as if he has been hurt. The Alsatian has gone nowhere near it. He runs away. This is it. Most wrongdoers are cowards. So all you have to do is call their bluff. Ignore if you have to. I mean, if you need to. And if you need to take any action, just do the equivalent of what the Alsatian does. Just turn around and give it one nice stare. Him or her. Scamper for his life. Because you have strength. How do you have strength? Because you're using your intellect. That person is acting on the mind. So you've got an ace up your sleeve. Use it. That is responding. If you react, then you're like any other dog barking back. And remember one thing, when a dog barks at you, if you bark back, what does it mean? You're another dog. You're at the same level, so you have no right to complain.
Ma'am, I have a question. When performing obligatory duties, you do it because you know you have to do it. But sometimes your mind does not want to do it. So you perform it with half heart and the agitation shows. So how should you overcome that and do it really with your full heart?
Okay, the question is that while performing an obligation, if your heart is not wholly with it, then you perform your obligation half-heartedly, which is what most of us do. So the question is, how do you overcome that and perform or do what you have to do wholeheartedly, right? That's the question. How do you do it? See, you are performing that action because you think it obligatory for you to do. So you have to focus on that. The intellect's command that you have to do it, whether you like it or not. So what happens is, again, with the strength of the intellect, you set aside whether you like it or not. Because the mind is fickle, sometimes you like it, sometimes you won't like it. The same thing that you don't like now, tomorrow you like. Have you seen children, kindergarten? They go to school, they come back and say, oh, so-and-so is my best friend. 2 days later, the same girl comes back and says, I hate you. What has happened in those 2 days? Just the mind has changed. But that is the nature of the mind. Everybody's mind is like that. So you must understand that what you dislike today, tomorrow you like. And what you like today, you may dislike tomorrow. You can't live your life based on the whims and fancies of the mind. And then if you analyze, why do I not like it? You'll realize there's no reason at all. No valid reason for you not to like it, except that you just don't like it. So you have to set that aside and do it. Once you do it, the satisfaction that it gives you is so great that you will not do it again. I mean, you won't do a half-hearted job again. See, this happens to all of us. A student doesn't like studying. Which student likes studying? Hilpa. I'm saying that because she's a teacher. No student on earth likes studying. But you just have to educate the child that life is like that. You have to do things that you don't like because they are good for you. And that what is unpleasant in the beginning will give you a lot of happiness in the end. You just have to go through that little bit of pain. And that too is very little. Once you start studying, you actually like it. Isn't it? That much if you convey to your own self, then you'll do it. The problem is we have allowed our minds to run riot. We have allowed the mind to gather momentum to such an extent that it pushes through. I like, so I'll do it. I don't like, so I will not do it. That's how we've lived. So that's having its way. You just have to tell yourself whether I like it or not, I have to do it. And as you do it, you'll start liking it. So, what does the Bhagavad Gita do for us? Just as when you have a weak immune system, the slightest infection that comes around, you pick it up. You pick up every infection. So there are people who are constantly falling ill. One day she'll have a cold, next day she'll have fever, third day the back will hurt, fourth day legs will hurt, something or the other is going wrong. Why? Because you have a weak immune system. Similarly, at the mental level, when our immune system is weak, you fall prey to everything that's happening. You get affected by everything that's happening. And you are grief-stricken, you're depressed, you're lonely, you're in a bad mood. You feel nobody loves me, everybody hates me. You know, that kind of attitude you have. But when you gain strength, when you develop this internal mental immunity, you understand the truth. What is the truth? You connect with people, you feel loved. Isn't it? Whether people actually love you or not is not the point. You feel secure. And then you interact with people like that, and they slowly start responding in like manner. So there are 4 types of strengths that we speak of. One is Bahubala, sheer muscle. Like in the Olympics we've seen, whether it's a wrestler or whatever, sheer muscle. So that is strong, yes. But a person who has emotional strength, the power of love. Have you seen people deal with elephants? Wild elephants. You know how a good trainer, how he tames that elephant? with sheer love. Unless you love the creature, you just can't tame the elephant. And slowly that elephant, all that elephant has to do is give one nice kick to you, you'll be dead. That is the strength of the elephant. But with love, you conquer. So emotional strength is far greater than physical strength. You agree? Then comes intellectual strength, buddhi bala. So there's bahubala, manobala, buddhi bala. With the power of the intellect, we human beings have conquered the whole world, isn't it? We've gone out into space. We've done amazing things. Performed miracles, in fact. But even greater than that is the power of Atman, spirit, which all of us have in equal measure. Not all of us are physically strong. Not everybody has the power of emotion. Not everyone is like an Einstein, high IQ. But all of us have spirit in equal measure. Now that is something that we need to tap into. Now there's an interesting story given in the Kenopanishad. An Upanishad normally doesn't elaborate on anything. It just gives a statement of fact. But there are two kinds of Upanishad. Mantropanishad is just statement of fact, short, pithy sentences. And then there are Brahmanopanishads, which are explanatory. So the Kenopanishad is one such. In the Kenopanishad, there is a story. The story goes something like this. The gods and the demons go to war. And very often this is presented, like even John Milton has spoken of a war between the good and the bad, gods and demons. So similarly, gods and demons had a battle. And the gods won victory over the demons. So when you gain victory, what do?
Party.
Celebrate, party. So they have a great party. And while they're partying, they do bottoms up, they look up in the sky, and suddenly they see an apparition in the sky. Yes. Immediately, all celebration comes to an end because the gods are supposed to be all-knowing. And this is something that they don't know. So emergency is declared. What is this? So they decide to send an emissary. The first person they send is fire god, Agni. Agni goes towards the apparition with arrogance. You are the element fire, heat, the god of fire. So he goes there and the apparition says, "Who are you?" It's like, the President of the United States comes and you ask, "Who are you?" It's very, very humiliating. So he says, "I am Agni, fire god." Next question is worse. What do you do? He says, "I can burn anything in the universe." So he places a blade of grass before him and says, "Can you please blow this away? Can you please burn this?" So he thought as child's play, releases a few calories, nothing happens. Few more, nothing happens. Now with all his might he tries, still nothing happens. A fire god comes back, first batsman out for a duck, and tells the gods, "I don't know what this apparition is." Next, wind god, Vayu, subtler than Agni. So he goes, same story. "Who are you?" "I'm Vayu." "What do? I can play with the planets." So he places a blade of grass and says, "Can you blow this away?" just can't. Second batsman out for a duck. This is a really bad situation. Then they realize this is not an ordinary challenge. So they send Indra. Indra is the god of gods. This time, he goes with a difference. He goes with humility. And as he approaches the apparition, it disappears. So there's no conversation between them, it just disappears. He doesn't come back, he stands there. And in the place of the apparition comes the dazzling Uma, beautiful goddess. Uma represents, Uma is, goddess of the scriptures, spiritual knowledge. He's not carried away by her beauty, her magnificence, nothing. He is focused on that apparition. He says, what is that was here in your place? Next chapter comes the answer. That which you saw was Brahman. Now, why am I telling this story? Because when you operate in the world with arrogance, with ego, with this concept that you know who I am kind of thing, and all of us have that. It's only a question of less or more. Or have you learned the nuances of good behavior, that you keep your ego in place, you say the right things. That's all the difference. Others are crude. So, if you truly go with humility, operate with humility, then things start unfolding. So, in the story, if you observe, there are two things that happen when you operate with ego and with desire. I will know this. What happens? Number one, with organs of action and perception. Fire, Agni represents organs of action. Vayu represents organs of perception. If you operate with these, you cannot understand subtler things. So here the Kenopanishad is about Atman Brahman. You cannot understand Brahman, God, with organs of perception or action. You can't see God, you can't taste God, smell God. Anyone who says that doesn't know what he's saying. Nor can you feel with emotions or thoughts. And number two, the moment you forget the role that Brahman, Atman has played in your life, which is a huge role, it is that spirit that enables you to do whatever it is that you're doing. Every breath you take, every time you open your eyes and see, every time you hear a sound, just the movement of your fingers, everything, every emotion that goes through your mind, every thought that flits through your intellect is enabled by this power. And if you forget the role that the spirit, Brahman, has played in your life, what happens? Brahman switches off, which is what happened to Agni, which is what happened to Vayu. Agni couldn't burn, Vayu couldn't blow. This is what's happening to all of us. Isn't that true? What power you have, what abilities you have, what talent you have, and what are you living? If only you knew your potential. Fortunately, you don't know, so you're happy with using 1% of your potential. The best among us. Best means I'm talking about an Einstein in physics and Nobel Prize winners. Ustad Bismillah Khan. People like that use barely 3% of their potential. So where does that leave us? Why is this happening? Because we have completely forgotten the role that Brahman is playing in our lives. If you remember, if you acknowledge, and if you operate out of that spirit, by God, you'll shake the world. You'll rock the world. One individual is enough. This is one Buddha was enough. You don't need Buddhas by the dozens, they don't come. One enlightened soul. That's it. Okay, we may not be a Buddha. Let's face it. We are at such a level that it may not be possible for us to get there. But we can all be mini Buddhas, mini Ramakrishnas, mini Shankaracharya. That's enough. But what we are doing is like we are fast asleep. We are asleep to our potential. We are asleep to our glory. We are asleep to everything. We are like that Gulliver who's washed ashore and he's fast asleep. Huh? And the Lilliputians come and painstakingly nail him to the ground. And they think they've got him. They haven't. He's just asleep. That's why he's lying there. All he has to do is wake up and but everything goes. He doesn't even know that they've tied him. This is it, friends. We are all like Gulliver. We're asleep to the tradition that we have. We're asleep to this mighty spiritual inheritance that we have. We're asleep to our glory. And the Lilliputans of the world are sitting there and nailing us to the ground, and we are happily taking it. 200 years the British ruled over us. Even now, we have that inferiority complex. The white man comes, you stand up. Disgusting. The white man is not disgusting. Our attitude is disgusting. That servile attitude. Humility you must have, not servile attitude. Why do we have that? Because of complete ignorance. Not only are we ignorant, we don't even want to know. What do we want? Excitement. Entertainment. If you were to, who's that rock star who is coming?
Coldplay.
Coldplay. What happened? Just the announcement was enough for people to go crazy. And at that concert, you have to go like 5 hours ahead. You have to stand there throughout the concert in that heat. And it takes another 2 hours to get out of that. And you have to pay a neat fortune for it. All that you'll do. For what? But come to get a taste of what you're capable of. Maybe your life will change. You don't want it. This is the slavery that we have been subject to, that we have subjected ourselves to. You can't blame anyone else. We've done it to ourselves. We've allowed it to happen. And we seem to be quite happy doing it. Every generation gets worse and worse. So now, we think it's below our dignity to wear Indian clothes. Where did that come from? See, you can wear what you like, I have no objection to that. But to think that if you wear a sari, you will be less than others is the problem. No Japanese thinks that a kimono is below their dignity. They wear it with pride. No Malaysian thinks that it's below his dignity to wear the sarong. They are not ashamed to eat their own food. We are. Ask anyone when they're going out, what would you like to eat? Pizza. Pizza? It's rubbish. Junk food. Why? See, it's not, you may like a pizza, that's different. That's junk and you are also junk. But anyway, but to think it's below your dignity to eat Indian food, that is the problem. You know, there's an ad that appears, I don't know which, it's some product, it's an ad. It's about these guys at a company who are having their lunch. And there's a group of people who are having pizza. And there's this poor guy who's brought home food, you know, dal, roti, sabzi kind of stuff. And suddenly he says, you want? He tells the other group. And they love it, they want it, home food. And they all get together, he shares his Indian food with them. It's just an ad, but it's such fun. So, coming back, that once you knock off all these complexes that you have, that you've picked up, inferiority complex, just be normal. Just be a normal human being and understand what power you have. So the spiritual path or the means to tap into this spirit is the path of action, karma yoga, service. The path of devotion, which is just love. And the path of knowledge. If you do this, what is the result? The result will be your mind will be absolutely calm, your intellect will be sharp, and actions brilliant. As a result of this, you will gain the wealth of the world as a byproduct of your pursuing something higher. You know, wealth is not taboo in the Indian system, unlike your impression. The general impression in India is if you are spiritual, you must necessarily be a pauper. Not right. And if there is a rich guy who's spiritual, you say, Ray, what kind of spirituality does he have? He roams around in a Mercedes. So what? I say, if you can run around in a Mercedes, why can't he? Huh? But that must not be the main purpose of your existence. Like we used to get, we get interns, you know, from colleges, college students, young. They come and join us. What is their aim? I want to buy a new iPhone. From the internship money that they get, they want to buy a new iPhone. That's it. Now, if that is your vision, so tiny, so small, what will you achieve in life? Then you enjoy yourself, you enjoy the world. Take a look at the richest people in the world. They usually are not happy. There are all kinds of problems. So, you know, you think, you look at them, the pictures in their private jets and expensive yachts, or what is that? Cruise ships and things like that. You think they're happy. You go anywhere near them, you'll understand what the state of affairs is. Still, you want that. And the people who are happy are usually not wealthy. The Bhagavad Gita, Vedanta, promises both. You look back into Indian history. The descriptions are so Amazing. They all had wealth the likes of which we can't even imagine. Even Elon Musk doesn't have that kind of wealth. They say the streets were paved with gold. What a description. Things like that. And they were happy internally and spiritually developed. So they were Raja Rishis. They were in command over a great deal of wealth in the world externally. They were happy internally and they were spiritually evolved. So all three you will get. You'll gain wealth, you'll enjoy the world, you'll be cheerful, happy like Krishna. He had all kinds of problems on his head right from childhood. He had to protect himself. He had no clue what was happening. Others had no clue that his own uncle was plotting to kill him. So even as an infant, he had to protect himself. Then he had all kinds of responsibilities which he took on. But never was he depressed, never did he lose sleep, never did he look unhappy. Do you see pictures of Krishna without a smile? No. You'll be objective in life. Objectivity is the key to success. Objectivity is the key to happiness. What do we mean by objective? You look at things, your own life, from a distance, as if it were a movie you were watching. In fact, the secret of enjoying movies is that objectivity, that you know you are apart from it. That's how you can enjoy murder thrillers, you can enjoy horror movies, you can enjoy tragic movies. You know, in the past, Hindi movies were all tragedies. And Nutan was the queen of tragedy. So I had, all of our cousins used to go to the movie together. And I had older cousins whom we looked up to. And there's this girl my cousin was older than me. Every time we went to a movie, I remember one, Sujata. Yeah. She cried and cried so much. She came out of the theatre with bloodshot eyes. I was a kid then, I didn't realize what was happening. But what she said was, "Oh, I want to go to watch the movie again. Only thing is, I'll take 2 handkerchiefs. I had taken only 1. In those days, we didn't have tissues and all that. So this is it. You cry at a movie, you still enjoy it. Why do you enjoy? You must analyze that. How is it that you enjoy? Because you know you are apart from it. It has nothing to do with your life. That is being objective. So objectivity is viewing your own life as if you were watching a movie. And when you're objective, you become a leader. Not that you want to be a leader. You automatically get shoot up into a position of leadership. And the most amazing thing is, you become Atman. Atma becomes Mahatma. It's like a bubble understanding that it's the ocean and not the bubble. What is the difference between the bubble and the ocean? Just nama rupa, name and form. We are all like bubbles on the surface of eternity. And all that we have to understand is, I am not the bubble. I am what? What is the bubble? Same ocean water, same air. I am that infinite Atman. That is the purpose of our existence. So for now, we'll move on with the verses 33 and 34.
येषामर्थे काङ्क्षितं नो राज्यं भोगसुखानि च तैमेव स्थिता युद्धे प्राणास्त्यक्त्वा धनानि च आचार्या पितरः पुत्राः तथैव च पितामहाः मातुला श्वशुरा पौत्राः शालासम्बन्धिनस्तथा.
If those for whom we seek sovereignty, joys, and pleasures stand here in battle, sacrificing their lives and wealth, preceptors, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers in law, grandsons, brothers in law, and also relatives, you feel like laughing going through this list. But who's speaking this, Arjuna, the commander-in-chief of the Pandava forces. Does this even suit him? When you are in a position of leadership, you're supposed to rise above personal issues. You can't be sitting there, the babysitter hasn't come for my granddaughter. Tough luck. It's like Swami Vivekananda. All of us go through these choices, difficult choices. After he had joined the mission, his parents, his father passed away, and his family was going through hard times. And they kept appealing to him, come back, you're the only one who can take care of our family. And he thought about it, because they were really going through bad times. And it's as if Sri Ramakrishna came to him and asked him, are you going to work for one family or for millions of families? And that did it. He never went back. And you know what? His family got well taken care of. So you just have to move to the higher realm. And here Arjuna is stuck with relationships. And with almost contempt is his fathers-in-law. I mean, see, the first chapter is just full of Arjuna babbling, so there's no philosophy there. 35.
एतान्नहन्तुमिच्छामि नतोऽपि मधुसूदन अपि त्रैलोक्यराज्यस्य हेतो किं नु मही कृते.
O Madhusudana, killer of Madhu, another name for Krishna. Even if they were to kill me, I have no desire to kill them. Even for the dominance of the three worlds, much less for the earth. So, I don't know whether you've met people from the armed forces. They have a different psyche altogether. No soldier, not even a Jawan, will talk like this. I would rather they kill me than for me to kill them. It's not the language of a warrior, much less the commander-in-chief. Now, the truth is that Arjuna has fought many battles before. It's not as if he's a novice and has killed many people before. And for him to say this is completely out of character. It's uncharacteristic of him. Now, what we should understand is that all of us go through moments like this. When you are in deep grief, like you've just lost a family member, say. At that time, because you're struck with grief, you're in no condition to think clearly. And so, we all go through this. It's called Shmashan Vairagya. Means, you feel like giving it all up. Because you say, what's the use of it? When I've lost someone that's so dear to me, of what use is all of this? But never should you take action based on that, because it's not your nature. That is why in our culture, you're given 12 days, 13 days, where no decisions are taken after a death. Similarly, when you go through bad times, just defer decisions because your mind is not, your intellect is not functioning and your mind is thinking of all kinds of things which are not true. So he's saying, I have no desire to kill them, completely wrong. Even for dominion of the three worlds means on the face of it, it is heaven, earth and hell. In the philosophic sense, it is waking, dream and deep sleep states, or causal, subtle and gross bodies. Causal body is vasana, which is the seed of your personality. Subtle body is your mind and intellect, your inner personality. And gross body is your physical body, which is your outer personality. Whichever way you want to take it. He says, I don't want even for dominion of the three worlds, much less the earth. Again, it's a wrong statement. 36.
निहत्य धार्तराष्ट्रान्नः का प्रीतिः स्यात् जनार्दन पापमेवाश्रयेदस्मान् हत्वैतानाततायिनः.
Now, it's a very interesting statement he makes here, Arjuna. He says, O Janardana, protector of people, what happiness will accrue to us by killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? Killing these criminals will only result in sin haunting us. So, if you observe, this battle is his. It is not Krishna's battle. And before the Mahabharata war, Krishna very categorically stated that I am not a stakeholder in this battle. I have nothing to do with it. But since you've asked me for help, I'll be there alone, unarmed, and I will not fight. So even after his having said this, Arjuna is now including him by saying, what happiness will accrue to us? Krishna's happiness is not dependent on all this. So this is what happens, because when you take the wrong step, when you think in a wrong way, you want the support of other people. So you go and say, discussing the matter with people and say, don't you think I'm right? Don't you think this is the right thing to do? And everyone says yes. So you think you're right. But Krishna doesn't belong to that category. He is not moved by any of this. And in the same breath, he's saying, killing these criminals will only result in sin haunting us. Now, sin comes only when you violate your conscience. Right? Here he's not violating his conscience because Duryodhana and all of them deserve what they're getting. He rightly calls them Atatainaha, means it's a term wherein the person must have committed 6 crimes. And these 6 crimes are, number 1, you set fire to another person's home without any reason. You poison a person, murder a person, steal their land, steal their wealth, and steal their wife. Now Duryodhana and the Kauravas have done all 6. They're guilty of all 6. Yet Arjuna says, we will incur sin. Which is totally wrong. Sin comes, the definition of sin is when your conscience does not permit a thing and you do it, it is sin for you. He is only expressing his bitterness and frustration because they have been, or Duryodhana and the Kauravas have wronged them for many, many years. So all his frustration is coming out. And when as we've seen earlier, when your mind is agitated, you cannot take corrective action. And he would not have taken corrective action. He would have just, I don't know what he would have done, given in. And that would have been the end. The future course of action would have been completely different had it not been for Krishna's timely advice. So he's talking about all personal issues. In verse 32, he says, my enjoyment, my victory. You don't enter a battle for your enjoyment. Verse 33, he says, my people. 34, he says, my relationships. 35, my dominion. And now 36, my happiness. So when you're caught up, when your thinking gets restricted to only yourself, thought of self, that's the end. So he would have lost the battle right there. Also, when you're full of hatred, and this applies to your questions, I'm not saying you are hateful, but when you're smarting against an injustice done by somebody else, what happens? Your mind is agitated, your intellect gets clouded, you don't know, you can't think straight, and action flawed. You take the wrong course of action. That's why many good people suffer at the hands of evil people, because they just don't know how to handle the situation. They feel they are seething with anger maybe, but they can't take any action because intellect is just not there. Whereas when you're free from hatred, however much injustice the other person may have done you, your mind is calm, your intellect is clear, and action perfect. You take exactly the right action. And this is portrayed in so many ways. You know, in Merchant of Venice, Shakespeare talks about this, I've forgotten the names of her characters. Portia, the young lawyer. So there's this businessman, Jewish person, who has given a loan. Yeah, Shylock. Shylock has given a loan to some guy. And he has said, if you don't return the loan within a certain time, I will take what? A pound of flesh. So this girl represents Portia, represents this man in court. And he says, yes, you asked for a pound of flesh. By all means, take the pound of flesh. But you didn't say blood. Huh? Take the flesh without not a drop of blood should be shed. And 1 pound exactly. Not even half an ounce less, not an ounce more. Finished, he left the court. So this is it. When you're free from hatred, your mind is calm, your intellect is sharp, you know exactly what to do, and you get them. That's what we should do. But everywhere you find, like the example I gave you, the father and son, the son is seething with anger, he just gets angry. Even though he's right, he loses in the end because he is only expressing anger. He doesn't know how to go about it. What all of us should do when we are faced with situations like this, and all of us have to face situations like this, keep your mind calm and figure out a way. Best way is, like again Shakespeare said, beware of entrance into a quarrel. But if you're in it, make sure you win. That's how you should objectively, calmly sit there and analyze and then hit where it hurts most. And that guy is finished. If the person is evil, now don't go around finishing off people. And if it is necessary for you to. 37.
तस्मान्नार्हा वयं हन्तुं धार्तराष्ट्रान् स्वबान्धवान् स्वजनं हि कथं हत्वा सुखिनः स्याम माधव.
It is therefore improper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, our own brothers. O Madhava, how can we derive happiness from killing our own people? See, it's he's just blabbering. There's no point analyzing what he's saying. And now he's arriving at a conclusion. Tasmat means therefore. Now, normally you say therefore when you have gone through a rational, logical sequence of thought. There is no such thing here. His mind is just taking over. Also, he's talking about deriving happiness, pleasure. You don't go to battle for pleasure. And anything that you do for pleasure, you will get unhappiness at the end. Instant pleasure gives you unhappiness. All you have to do is just perform your obligation, your duty. Like her question earlier. And do it to the best of your ability. That's it. 38, 39 taken together.
यद्यप्येतेन पश्यन्ति लोभोपहतचेतसः कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं मित्रद्रोहे च पातकम् कथं न ज्ञेयमस्माभिः पापादस्मान्निवर्तितुम् कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं प्रपश्यद्भिर्जनार्दन.
Even though they, intellect clouded by greed, do not see wrong in annihilating the family or betraying friends, why should we not back off from the sin when we see the evil in destroying the family of Janardana? So, with this verse, we enter the last topic of this chapter where Arjuna collapses completely. Now, the situation is that the Kauravas had no emotion. Duryodhana has no qualms about killing or causing destruction. So many people died there unnecessarily. So this is a tamasic state. Arjuna has emotion. He feels, he's feeling for the people. But he acts on that emotion. So this is a state of rajas. Krishna feels more than anybody because he has seen it before. It's amazing. In the Mahabharata, they show after the war, there's bodies lying everywhere. You hear peals of laughter. Krishna is laughing. And they ask him, why are you laughing? He says, because I'm done with crying. I cried before the battle started. So he knew what was going to happen. He felt deeply, but he acts on the sane counsel of the intellect. And this is what we need to do. We alternate between indifference, tamas, where we don't feel at all, or we feel and we act on that feeling. So either tamas or rajas, and we are affected by that feeling. Very rarely are we sattvic, where we feel deeply, intensely, but our actions are determined by the intellect. Then you can't go wrong. 40.
कुलक्षये प्रणश्यन्ति कुलधर्मा सनातनाः धर्मे नष्टे कुलं कृत्स्नम् अधर्मोऽभिभवत्युत.
The age-old religious customs of the family die when the family perishes. The whole family is overtaken by immorality when dharma is destroyed. See, this is where the reasoning is completely wrong. Family values have already been destroyed. And the battle is to restore the values. Number 2, what does he mean by tradition, customs? Just because you perform rituals doesn't mean that you are upholding any values. Even now, you find sometimes people who are doing the most wrong to other human beings follow rituals to the T. There is no connection. There is no connection between merely following rituals and following the righteous path. It's a world of difference. So, we come to the end of this session.